Mike and Lisa met at a party of mutual friends. The atmosphere was light. Laughter was heard from every corner of the house. Mike, confidently holding a glass of wine, immediately caught Lisa's attention. He joked, told interesting stories, and seemed like a man who knew what he wanted. "You seem like the kind of person who always wins," Lisa said, not hiding her interest. "And you weren't wrong," Mike replied with a smile. "I always get what I want, and today I want to invite you to dinner." Lisa was hesitant at first, but Mike's charisma was too strong. Their first date went great, and the romance developed rapidly. 3 months later, Mike proposed, getting down on one knee in a restaurant full of guests. "Will you make me the happiest man in the world?" he asked, holding the box with the ring. Lisa answered yes without hesitation. After the wedding, Lisa was sure that their life would be fabulous. They bought a cozy house in the suburbs, and soon children were born, first Thomas and then Emily. Mike seemed like the perfect husband and father, but over time his behavior began to change. "Why isn't the shirt ironed?" he once asked, returning from work. "I just didn't have time," Lisa answered, trying to explain. "That's no excuse," Mike shouted, throwing his shirt on the floor. "You must take care of me and our home." It was the first time Lisa felt fear. At first she thought that these were temporary difficulties, but such incidents became regular. Every day turned into a test. Mike could yell about an oversalted dinner, or even because the kids were making noise during his calls. Mike decided to install hidden cameras in the house, citing security concerns. "Lisa, this is for us and the kids. Danger is everywhere these days," he said as the technician installed the devices. "But that's a bit too much, isn't it?" carefully noted Lisa. "You don't trust me?" Mike answered sharply, and Lisa no longer objected. Little did she know that these cameras had become a tool for tracking her every move. Mike went through the records carefully, looking for the slightest mistake or basis for accusation. Once, when Lisa was walking with her children in the park, Josh helped Emily pick up a balloon that had fallen into a puddle. "Thank you, that's very kind of you," Lisa said, smiling. "No, thanks. You have a great family," Josh replied, but he could see the sadness in her eyes. From that day on, their meetings became more and more frequent. Josh had an easygoing personality and knew how to create an atmosphere of comfort. Once, while the children were in kindergarten, he invited Lisa to coffee. "This place is perfect for a break from everyday life," he said as they sat down at a table in a small cafe with the aroma of fresh-baked goods. "I've even forgotten what it's like to just sit and enjoy the moment," Lisa replied, holding a cup of coffee. Their conversation was light, but Josh managed to notice that Lisa often looked out the window as if she was afraid of being seen. "Lisa, you can trust me," he said, touching her hand. The next time Josh organized a picnic in the park, he brought a blanket, a fruit basket, and even prepared sandwiches. "It's so unusual," Lisa laughed when she saw his effort. "What exactly?" Josh asked, sitting next to him. "That someone is worried about me," she answered quietly, lowering her eyes. Their conversations deepened, and Lisa felt heard. She began to confide in Josh, telling him details of her life. On Emily Lisa's 5th birthday, she decided to throw a party for the children. She ordered a cake, decorations, and invited the neighbors. A clown, who was supposed to entertain the children, was a surprise. Lisa knew nothing about who was hiding under the suit. Josh learned from his friend, a professional animator, that he had received an order for a children's party. "What do you say? Are you going to entertain the children?" Josh jokingly asked his friend. "Yes, it will be a normal day," he replied, without giving any meaning. "And where this time?" Josh asked, trying not to sound too interested. The friend called out the address, and Josh immediately knew it was Lisa's house. "Listen, I have a proposition for you," he said after a pause. "Give me your suit, I'll do it for you." "You? You don't even know how to handle children," the friend laughed. "I'll be fine, it's personal, I really need to." The friend hesitated for a long time, but finally agreed. "Okay, but just this once. Don't embarrass me," he said, handing over the suit. On the holiday, Josh did his best not to betray himself. He joked, entertained children, and hid behind a mask. As everyone laughed at his jokes, he felt his heart skip a beat every time Lisa was around. At one point, when Lisa came out of the kitchen, he whispered to her, "Hi, it's me." Lisa looked at the clown in surprise. "Josh? What are you doing here?" "I just wanted to see you and make sure you were okay," he replied. "You're taking a risk. Mike might find out," she whispered, looking around. "I won't stay long. Lisa, you deserve better. If you need help, know me," he said, and turned back to the children as if nothing had happened. The celebration continued, but Lisa couldn't stop thinking about his words. She knew that her life would change, but she had no idea at what cost. "I don't even know how to get out. He's watching my every move," she answered, clutching a cup of coffee. Mike, busy talking with the birthday guests, did not immediately notice their conversation. But later, while reviewing the camera footage, he saw Lisa and Josh hugging, and it made him furious. After the party, Mike, seething with anger, decided to keep an eye on Josh. As soon as the latter got into the car and drove off, Mike followed at a safe distance. He carefully avoided being seen, feeling his anger only grow by the minute. Josh calmly drove to his house, parked, and went inside, not even knowing that he was being followed. Mike waited a few minutes, breathing in the cold air to calm himself, but it only strengthened his resolve. He quietly approached the door of the apartment, broke the lock, and, without hesitation, burst inside. "You think I can't see anything? You're trying to destroy my family!" shouted Mike, closing the door behind him with such a bang that Josh literally jumped in surprise. "Mike, listen to me. It's not what you think," Josh tried to explain, raising his hands up in a gesture of protection. But Mike wasn't listening. His eyes blazed with rage. "Do you even realize what you've done? You've ruined everything," he shouted, approaching Josh. Not giving time for any excuses, Mike rushed at him, knocked him to the floor, and began to brutally beat him. "You have no idea who you contacted," he shouted. Each blow made his words stronger. Josh tried to cover himself with his hands, but his strength was uneven. A few minutes later, Josh lay motionless, his face covered in blood. Mike was breathing hard, stopped for a moment, and looked down at his bloody hands. "That's you for poking your nose into my life," he muttered, wiping his hands on his pants. Before leaving, Mike looked around the apartment, as if looking for something that might add to his satisfaction and revenge. Finding nothing, he quickly left the apartment, leaving the door half open. A few hours later, Josh's friend came home to find him lying on the floor. "Josh, damn it, what happened?" he shouted, sitting down next to him. Josh barely opened his eyes. "Mike, he found out," he whispered. The friend, wasting no time, called the doctor. While Josh was being helped, he spoke sternly to him. "Listen to me, you have to stop this. This guy is crazy, he won't stop. Lisa is not worth your life." But Josh, despite the pain, protested, "I'm not going to be intimidated by Mike. I know what I'm doing. Lisa needs help, and I'm not going to leave her." After Mike left Josh's apartment, he got into his car and drove home. His hands were covered in blood, and his heart was pounding with adrenaline. He felt no pity, only a growing desire to put Lisa in her place. Arriving at the house, Mike burst inside, slamming the door so hard that the sound echoed down the hall. Lisa, who was in the kitchen, froze in fear when she saw his bloody hands. "What did you do?" she asked quietly, hoping that the answer would not be as terrible as her guesses. "You want to know what I did?" Mike said, his voice shaking with rage. "I solved the problem named Josh." Lisa took a few steps back, leaning against the wall. "You're not his—" "Don't worry," Mike interrupted her. "He's alive. But if I see him around you again, it will be the last time." He came closer, wiping his hands with a towel from the table. "And now, listen to me carefully, Lisa. If you try something like that again, if I even suspect that you're cheating on me—" His voice dropped to a whisper, but it made it even more terrifying. "You're done, and so is your friend." Lisa could feel her breathing becoming labored. Her heart was pounding, and she tried to stay calm. She knew that every word or action could cause a new explosion of rage in him. "I warned you," Mike said, throwing the towel on the floor. "Now put it all away. I need to rest." He went into the bedroom, leaving Lisa standing in the middle of the kitchen with a lump of fear in her throat. Her hands were shaking, but she knew she had to stay calm for her sake and the children's. A few weeks later, after recovering from the beating, Josh decided to take action. He knew that Lisa was in constant fear, so he carefully planned every detail of the escape. They began to communicate through an encrypted messenger, which allowed them to remain inconspicuous. "You have to act fast," Josh wrote. "I will find a safe place for you." Lisa hesitated. She was horrified at the thought that Mike might suspect something. She read Josh's message and didn't reply for a long time. Her fingers trembled over the keyboard. "Josh, I'm scared. He's in control. If he finds out, it'll be the end," she finally wrote. "Listen to me, Lisa. You are strong. You have me. We will do this together," Josh replied. He drew up an escape plan down to the smallest detail. Lisa was to pack the essentials, wait for Mike to fall asleep, and meet Josh at the designated location. Josh rented a small house in a nearby town where they could hide. The day of escape was approaching. Lisa carefully collected things, hiding them in cozy corners of the house. She checked to make sure she didn't leave any marks, and reread Josh's instructions again. Her heart was beating stronger every day. In the evening, when Mike came home, Lisa tried to behave as usual. She put dinner on the table and listened intently to his stories about the day. "You look tired," Mike remarked. "Did something happen?" "No, everything is fine," she answered, trying not to show her excitement. But her hands gave her away. They could barely hold the glass of wine she was holding. "Don't be silly, Lisa," Mike said before falling asleep, his gaze penetrating her. "I always learn the truth." Those words echoed in her head as she quietly gathered the children and made her way down to the door. Her heart was pounding so loudly she thought Mike was about to wake up. Thomas asked in a whisper, "Mom, where are we going?" "Where we'll be safe," she answered, trying to stay calm. They got into Josh's car parked around the corner. "It's going to be fine," Josh said as the car pulled away. At night, Lisa quietly gathered the children and left the house. Her heart was beating so hard that everyone around her could hear it. Thomas asked in a whisper, "Mom, where are we going?" "Where we'll be safe," she answered, trying to stay calm. They got into Josh's car parked around the corner. "It's going to be fine," Josh said as the car pulled away. But an unexpected sound outside the window woke up Mike. He got up instinctively and went to the window, peering into the darkness. On the street, he saw a car in which Lisa and the children were getting into, his face contorted with rage. "She really does," he whispered, grabbing the car keys. Mike immediately ran out of the house and jumped into his car. The engine roared and he sped off, trying to catch up with them. His eyes did not take their eyes off the red headlights of the car that was moving away. "You think you can get away from me?" he said to himself through his teeth, pressing the gas pedal. He was determined to get his family back at any cost. Mike caught up with the car that Lisa, the kids, and Josh were in. On a deserted stretch of road, he cut them off sharply, forcing Josh to brake. The squeal of tires and the sharp impact of braking made Lisa scream in fright. Mike got out of his car, gun in hand. "Get out of the car, immediately!" he shouted, aiming the weapon at the windshield. Josh raised his hands, not wanting to risk the lives of Lisa and the children. "Mike, let's talk. It's not what you think," he said, trying to calm things down. "Shut up!" growled Mike, coming closer. He pulled Lisa out of the car, roughly grabbing her arm. "Did you seriously think you could run away from me?" he hissed. Josh took a step forward, but Mike pointed the gun at him. "Don't even think about it. You'd better stay out of our lives if you want to stay alive." Lisa, holding her children close to her, cried, "Mike, please don't do this. The kids are scared." "Are they scared? How do you think I felt when I found out my own wife was planning to run away?" he shouted, dragging Lisa to his car. Josh stood there helplessly as Mike put Lisa and the kids in his car. He knew he couldn't risk their lives. "Lisa, I'll find a way to help," he whispered as Mike drove past. Returning home, Mike wasted no time. He ordered Lisa and the children to stay in one room, and he himself called the master to install bars on the windows. Within a few days, the craftsman also built a high fence around the house. "You're definitely not going anywhere now," Mike said coldly, looking at a frightened Lisa. Josh, realizing that he could not cope on his own, decided to act officially. He turned to an attorney known for his expertise in domestic violence cases. "I need help. I know a woman who is in danger with her children. Her husband is an aggressor and he is keeping them trapped," he said during the meeting. The lawyer listened carefully to Josh, clarified the details, and replied, "It's a difficult case, but we can act through the police and social services. We need evidence of violence so they can intervene. Josh, remembering all the conversations with Lisa, provided the lawyer with screenshots of their messages where she described Mike's behavior. He also contacted the police, talking about the incident on the road and about the threats that Mike made with a gun in his hands. The police, having received the statement, decided to proceed with caution, starting an investigation. Social services began collecting information about Mike's family. They interviewed the neighbors, who confirmed that shouting and the sounds of arguments were often heard in the house. Meanwhile, Josh didn't stop. He arranged with a lawyer to file a court request for Mike's temporary arrest to give Lisa a chance to get out of the house. "I'm not going to let him ruin her life," Josh told the lawyer. The police also decided to set up surveillance on Mike's house to make sure Lisa and the kids were safe. "We have to make sure he's not doing anything dangerous," said the officer who coordinated the operation. At the same time, Josh knew that time was running out, and Lisa and the children were in constant danger. He contacted her again through an encrypted messenger. "Lisa, we are working to save you. The police and social services are already involved. Be strong, things will change soon," he wrote. Lisa, after reading the message, felt hope, but her fear of Mike did not disappear. She knew that every step she took could be her last if Mike suspected something. She replied, "I fear for the children. If he finds out, it will be the end of us all." Josh reassured her, "You're not alone. We'll do everything we can to protect you." After everything that had happened, Mike felt that the situation was getting out of control. His constant anger and paranoia began to destroy him from within. In the first days after he brought Lisa and the children home, he tried to keep his cool, but the tension was growing. Mike understood that his actions could have serious consequences. He knew that Lisa could have reached out to someone for help, or that Josh wouldn't just leave it at that. He was haunted by the thought that the police or social services might show up at any moment. To silence his fears, Mike began to abuse alcohol. At first, it was a few glasses of whiskey in the evening, but very quickly it turned into a bottle overnight. Alcohol gave him the illusion of control, but at the same time increased his aggression. His aggression became even more unpredictable. He would often disappear overnight, returning early in the morning drunk or under the influence of drugs. On one occasion, he even brought home strangers who laughed loudly and looked as unstable as he did. After alcohol, he found a way out in drugs. Meetings with friends in dark corners of the city have become commonplace. One evening, Lisa heard Mike coming home. He looked even more confused than usual, his hands shaking. "What's wrong with you?" she asked cautiously. "None of your business," he answered sharply, sinking into his chair. "It's all because of you. You ruined my life." After that, under the influence of alcohol, he approached Lisa, who was sitting silently in the living room, staring into the void. "Have you forgotten who you are to me?" began Mike, sitting next to him. "You are my wife. You have responsibilities to me." "Mike, please, not now," Lisa replied, trying to avoid his gaze. But he didn't listen. "Not now? When? Do you think I will tolerate your refusals? Are you thinking about your lover again?" His voice became increasingly tense. Lisa tried to get up, but Mike grabbed her wrist. "You're not going anywhere," he said, pulling her closer. "Mike, I don't want this," she said softly, trying to free herself, but his grip was too strong. "It's not your decision," he said, forcefully kissing her. Lisa cursed, not knowing what to do. Her fear paralyzed her, but she knew that any resistance would make the situation even more dangerous. Lisa couldn't take it anymore. After Mike attacked her again with reproaches and tried to force her to submit to his will, she knew it was time to act. Her fear was replaced by determination. One night, when Mike went to the neighbors, she texted Josh, "I need help. I can't take it anymore. I'm ready to do anything to get out of here." Her fingers shook as she sent the message, but she knew it was her only chance. Josh replied almost instantly, "Lisa, we will. I'll come to you tomorrow. Be ready." Josh decided not to act alone, but to seek help from law enforcement officers and a lawyer. He realized that the situation was beyond his capabilities and required official intervention. The next morning, he called a lawyer he knew who specialized in domestic violence cases. In the lawyer's office, Josh told the whole story. The beating by Mike, the hidden cameras in the house, Lisa's fear for her life and children. "We have to make sure Lisa and the kids are safe," Josh said. "Mike is an aggressor and he won't stop until he breaks them." The lawyer listened carefully, taking notes. "Josh, I'm going to file a police report for a domestic violence investigation. We can also go to court to get a temporary protection order for Lisa and the kids, but that requires her to confirm the facts." Josh hesitated but agreed. "I will be able to convince her to cooperate. She is ready to escape, but she is afraid of the consequences." That same day, the lawyer accompanied Josh to the police station. They met with a detective who specialized in domestic violence cases. Josh detailed Mike's behavior, providing screenshots of Lisa's messages and her description of life under constant surveillance. The detective listened intently, then asked, "Would Lisa be willing to file a statement herself, or at least corroborate your information? That would speed things up a lot." "She's ready," Josh replied, "but she needs help to leave the house. Mike is watching her every move." The detective and the lawyer agreed to work together. The plan was this: the police would get a warrant to search the house to gather evidence. In the meantime, the lawyer will file an urgent application to the court for a protection order. Josh had to prepare Lisa for the meeting with the law enforcement officers and ensure that she was ready to testify. That same evening, Josh texted Lisa, "We're working on it. The police will be involved. Get ready, things are about to change." Lisa did not answer for a long time, but later wrote, "I will do everything to keep the children safe. Tell me what to do." Josh, along with the lawyer and the police, continued to prepare for the operation to save Lisa and her children. The detectives prepared a plan of action. They had to obtain enough evidence to secure a search warrant and arrest Mike if his behavior was confirmed. In the meantime, the lawyer prepared an application to the court to obtain a temporary order for the protection of Lisa and her children. The next day, Josh met with the lawyer again in his office. He had important news. The court agreed to consider the application for a warrant urgently. For this, it was necessary to involve Lisa to confirm the facts. Josh understood that Lisa would not be able to meet with the lawyer because of Mike's constant control. Therefore, they decided to act differently. The lawyer offered to organize remote communication using a secure platform for video communication. "We can give her instructions and prepare documents without a physical meeting," explained the lawyer, "but it requires a precise plan." Josh decided to take a chance and contacted Lisa via encrypted messenger. "Lisa, we need to set up a video meeting with the lawyer. You will need to use a tablet or phone to confirm everything remotely." Lisa was scared but ready to try. "Okay, I'll try, but Mike's checking my every move." Josh knew he had to be careful. He sent her instructions for setting up a secure connection. Meanwhile, the lawyer prepared all the documents that Lisa had to confirm during the video meeting. On the appointed day, Lisa, having locked herself in the bathroom under the pretense of taking a shower, connected to the video link. She spoke in a low voice so as not to attract Mike's attention. "Attorney, I'm ready to cooperate," she said, trying to hide her nervousness. "What do I need to do?" The lawyer calmly explained, "You only need to confirm the information we have prepared. We will submit these documents to the court and the police to obtain a protection order. Your testimony is very important." Lisa confirmed all the details needed for the statement: Mike's control, his aggressive behavior, the installation of hidden cameras, and the constant threats. The lawyer recorded her testimony, which became part of the official case. Josh then turned over other evidence to the lawyer, including screenshots of correspondence with Lisa and hidden camera footage he managed to obtain through a technician he knew. When the documents were filed with the court, the lawyer and the police sprung into action. The police obtained a warrant to search the house and arrest Mike. They prepared a team of officers to enter the house and ensure the safety of Lisa and her children. Lisa remained locked in the house, not knowing when it would all end. She was afraid of Mike's every move, but she was ready for any development. That night, when Mike came home, Lisa tried to act as usual so as not to arouse suspicion. She served dinner and listened in silence to his incomprehensible mumbling. Mike was in a bad mood, and every little thing could trigger an explosion of rage. Meanwhile, Josh, along with the lawyer and the police, were finishing up the final preparations. The police received all the necessary documents, and a team of officers was ready for action. Their goal was not only to free Lisa, but also to ensure her and the children's continued safety. At dawn, while Mike was still asleep, a team of law enforcement officers drove up to the house unnoticed. They surrounded the area to avoid any possibility of escape or resistance from Mike. The officers contacted Lisa via a coded message, which Josh warned, "We're on the ground. Get ready. It's going to be fast." Lisa read the message, her heart pounding so loudly she was afraid the sound would wake Mike up. She grabbed the children who were still sleeping and prepared to leave, keeping her belongings close at hand. The officers knocked on the door and announced, "Police, open the door!" Mike, awoken by a loud knock, jumped out of bed, angry and disoriented. He ran to the door, but stopped when he saw armed officers behind it. "What is going on here? You have no right to enter my house," he shouted. But the officers were adamant. "We have a search warrant and a warrant for your arrest," one of the detectives replied calmly. "Please step away from the door." Mike tried to close the door, but the officers quickly entered the house. They arrested him and said he was under arrest on suspicion of domestic violence and possession of illegal substances. Lisa, hearing that Mike was detained, carefully left the room with the children. The officers ran up to her and quickly led them out of the house. One of the policemen reassured her, "You are safe. We will protect you." Josh was already waiting for them outside. He ran up to Lisa, hugging her and the children. "It's over," he whispered. "You are safe now." The police took Lisa and the children to a temporary shelter, where they were able to catch their breath. Mike, meanwhile, was taken to the station for questioning. The evidence gathered, including Lisa's testimony, hidden camera footage, and recovered drugs, made the case against him nearly flawless. The next day, the lawyer gave Lisa the good news. "The court has issued a long-term protection order for you and your children. Mike will not be able to come closer than 500 meters to you." Lisa, who felt freedom for the first time in many months, burst into tears. She thanked Josh and the lawyer for their help and the police for their quick response. Liza and her children gradually got used to a new life in a temporary shelter. It was a small, cozy place where they were given basic help, psychological support, legal advice, and even classes for children so that they could adapt to the changes. Lisa realized how badly they all needed this peace. Josh continued to support her. He came regularly, brought groceries, talked to the children, and helped her cope with the fears that remained after the traumatic experience. However, he also knew that this was only the first step. Even though Mike was under arrest, he was still a threat. Josh could see it in Lisa's eyes. Even in safety, she kept looking over her shoulder. One day, Lisa asked, "Josh, what's next? I can't live like this for the rest of my life. I want to give the kids a normal home." "I see, Lisa," Josh replied, looking thoughtfully out the window. "My attorney and I are working to formally establish your right to full custody of the children, but this is a process that takes time." Lisa nodded. She knew she had to be patient, but sometimes she felt like she couldn't take it anymore. What if Mike finds a way out? He's very cunning. He always finds a way. "We won't allow that," Josh said, looking her straight in the eye. "Mike has made too many mistakes. The law is on your side." In the meantime, the lawyer was working on further legal steps. He prepared a request for Lisa's full custody of the children and submitted materials to the court. Mike's case became a sensation because the evidence of his control and violence that was discovered shocked even experienced lawyers. The days slowly turned into weeks. Lisa began to notice how the children became more relaxed. Thomas stopped being aggressive towards his sister, and Emily started laughing again, which Lisa hadn't heard in a long time. It gave her hope. However, one day Lisa received a call from a lawyer that made her heart stop again. "Lisa, Mike has appealed the court's decision. He's trying to get the protection order overturned and insists he wants to see the kids." "No, it's impossible," she exclaimed, clutching her head. "He will only hurt them. You understand that, right?" "I understand, and we will do everything to prevent this from happening," the lawyer assured. "But that means we have to go to court again. Ready?" Lisa swallowed. "I will not give up. I will fight for my children." Josh heard about the situation and offered to help. "You won't be alone. I'll be with you every step of the way," he said, squeezing her hand. The trial Mike appealed was stressful and emotionally draining for Lisa. She sat in the courtroom, tightly holding Josh's hand, who did not take a step away from her. The lawyer carefully prepared arguments to prove Mike's dangerousness and his unfitness to perform parental duties. The judge heard both sides, but Lisa's compelling testimony, along with abundant evidence of Mike's control and abuse, ultimately prevailed. Lisa spoke confidently during her testimony, although her voice shook at times. She described the years of fear and despair and the effect this had on the children. A tense silence filled the courtroom as the judge announced his decision. Mike had lost full custody, and the protection order had been extended indefinitely. The court also ruled that Mike must undergo rehabilitation before any attempt to appeal the decision. After the trial, Lisa felt real relief for the first time. She hugged Josh and cried again, but this time from happiness. "It's over now," she whispered. Her life began to gradually change. She found a small but cozy house for herself and the children, where they could start a new chapter. Josh stayed by her side, supporting her every step of the way. Together, they created a safe and calm space where Thomas and Emily could grow up happy. Lisa started working, doing what she had long dreamed of. She was able to regain her self-confidence and start a new life where there was no more room for fear. Josh became a part of this new life, and they were building a future together. And while Mike remained a part of their past, Lisa knew she now had the strength and support to protect herself and her children. She decided to never let fear control her life again. This struggle made her stronger, and she knew that now she had everything to be happy. Life was just beginning, and this time it was truly her own.